welcome everybody, good afternoon. And my name is Memosh Khawaja. Very pleased to be here to speaking to all of you on this fantastic opportunity on DEI. And since I'm representing Pakistan Institute of Corporate Governance, I'm going to try to give a little bit perspective on diversity from corporate governance perspective. I think a lot of you have already spoken about it. But it would be probably beneficial to hear how corporate governance looks at this topic and where it fits into our domain. Right, so I'll start off by giving a little bit of a background to what corporate governance, what essence of corporate governance is all about. And as you know, this is very widely established that this is critical to long-term sustainability of businesses. Corporate governance essentially is looking at three different players in the space, which are the shareholders of an organization, which are the management of the organization, and right in the middle, in the center, as we see it, is the board of directors who provide the oversight to company operations. They are right in the center of this whole play on corporate governance. And essentially, the board of directors are a body which are entrusted by shareholders to perform their duties, the duty of loyalty towards the organization, that's on one hand, and of course, the duty of care towards the organization on the other hand. So they have this dual role of looking after the shareholders' interests and also providing the right oversight towards the management. And this board of directors can only perform its duties through certain tools and mechanisms that it puts in place. And one of the critical mechanisms that the board has in its hand is its composition, the composition of the board. That's a very fundamental mechanism, I would say, to drive the performance forward of the board. And when it comes to the board composition, you know where we are getting to, we're talking about the board diversity. So it's actually about the diversity of the board, which is then becoming fundamental to the performance of the board. And we're not just talking about gender diversity, of course, in this case, but we're talking about getting the representation from various types of directors, be it the executive directors or independent directors or nominee directors. And then, of course, the gender balance is also becoming a critical factor within the composition of the board. So all in all, the message being that if corporate governance is to function properly, then board diversity is a key factor within its performance functioning. So that's the first message I wanted to give at this point in time. Then the question moves to why is board diversity important? What is the reason behind providing board diversity? Of course, we have probably heard about diversity in organizations all the way through, but now we can talk about the diversity of the board overall, how that becomes critical and in the functioning of the board. So, I mean, there are different points you can see on the screen here. First of all, I would say that there is, of course, the aspect of the image, the global image that you can have the license to operate when it comes to board diversity. And it is one of the critical topics, as we heard today, among some of the other governance issues that globally one is asked to report on and disclose on, and therefore it is something that the investors of the world are also looking at, and therefore it is important to describe board's diversity in your annual disclosures in around the world. That's a key factor already. In terms of real value additions, we have seen, research has proven that a diverse board is important to providing that perspective, that unique outlook to the boardroom through different facets. It prevents groupthink, as we know, as it can become damaging for board performance, and it allows for better quality conversations and debates to take place, as Zafar Saab has also said, that this brings that value into the boardroom. We definitely believe that companies are able to make better quality decisions And investors also believe that diverse boards bring diverse perspectives, and therefore the strategy and risk oversight aspect is also considerably better when it comes to board diversity. Attracts and retains talent. Yes, we have clearly, we believe that this aspect is important to attract, develop, and retain talent, and in order to compete in the marketplace. And finally, it's as we are all part of businesses, it's important to know that is there any business case for this issue? Then this is also now research proven that diverse boards tend to have stronger performances, as some of the numbers on the screen indicate, that culturally diverse boards, 43% stronger than others, and gender diverse boards, 21% more stronger as per research than other boards. So clearly the numbers are there to prove that this is not just qualitatively important, but also important from a business perspective, and there's a clear business case for driving diversity on boards as well. Now comes the harder part, of course, and I'll try to throw some reflections on it from Pakistan's perspective. What really are the challenges in getting these numbers up? Somebody was asking me just yesterday as to what is the number, and I think the key issue is what is the percentage of women on boards today in Pakistan, and I think we haven't got any new figures, but it probably is still ranging between 10 to 12%, and that is on the lower side. So what's holding it back from going beyond the compliance levels, right? So I think one of the factors is the market structure itself, the market structure of our corporates, which is largely comprising of privately held companies. And not many companies are actually out there in terms of public listing. Even those public listed companies have 70 to 80% shareholding within fewer hands. It's not in public hands. And therefore, the influence of the market or the influence of the shareholders is only limited in terms of driving that diversity on boards. So that plays a big role in basically limiting our numbers from going up in terms of challenges towards making boards more diverse and independent, also independent. The other issue, and so what does that mean? What is the challenge there? So because the market structure is such, there is of course this issue of trust that we have. Because the money is being held in fewer hands, and therefore the decision making is likely to be within a fewer hands, and it's difficult to impose. While we do have regulation that says that you have to have 1/3 independent directors and 1 woman on board, it becomes a challenge to select or to bring those independent directors because you want that decision making to be within, let's say, known hands, so that your business is protected. If there was a larger public money into the corporate structure, then of course it would be much easier because there'd be much more diverse interests towards the corporate functioning. So that becomes the issue of, if it is my company, if it is my money, then of course it has to be my trust level that has to ensure within my board. So that's basically the issue there. And we also have, since we have to get independent board directors on the game, and we have to have 1 woman on board, therefore then the question is, okay, so who do we bring in? And then it becomes a question of, you bring in somebody who you trust, or you basically believe that the market is basically more or less confirming that these are the players in the market. So I think the option of expanding the pool, as we were discussing today, is therefore challenging, because you want to be able to go back to the same people who the market trusts. So basically it's the same pool that we revolve around. But the efforts of HR metrics, etc., have to be appreciated here, because they are constantly trying to provide that opportunity that to a larger number of people, and to get onto the boards as well. However, I think the issue comes from, as I said, market structure, market holding, and the ability to trust new people. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we bring that opportunity to real life? That, I think, there has to be a lot of qualitative aspects. So there is a regulation out there, And there are lists out there, there are names out there. How do we bridge that gap to bring that opportunity to more and more people? I mean, we have a database of some 4,000 independent directors, out there in Pakistan who are willing to serve or who probably are serving. The question is how many of them have been given that chance in terms of rotational ability or in terms of, moving the board directorship around. So that's, I think, something that has to come from opportunity and development. When it comes to opportunity, the opportunity has to be pushed through some other forums like HR Metrics, and then there are also other forums which have to provide that opportunity to the talent to prove themselves that they are able to perform the job, or they have the ability to perform the job. So that opportunity has to be given. And I would say equally the senior leaders of today should look at providing that development to the younger talent, because I think grooming, mentoring, development is critical. And a lot of our talent is probably not exposed to what board functioning is all about. It's a completely different world. And I must say that, how many of us ever aspired to be on boards? I mean, when we are executives, that's the question. So it's a question of how many of you want to be CEOs in the first place. I mean, back in the days, it was very hard to even have that ambition to become a CEO. And you have to have that C-level knowledge and experience to be able to perform well on board. So I think a lot of us just stop short of being number two, being on your XCOM and not make it there. So I think that we need to cross that bridge very importantly to have more and more people get onto C-suites and onto CEO levels to understand the functioning of the board and then to be pulled in from, because it is a different world and it's completely something that executives don't have in their purview as such. So opportunity and development both need to be pushed through. Lastly, I would say regulation can help, and SECP is here, and I think there's been a lot of debate in the last 1 year at least in terms of providing more opportunity and ensuring that this, 1/3 independent directors and 1 woman on board gets its right place in organizations. There was this insight that a lot of corporates basically pushed back by saying that the rule is there, the law is there, but as we heard, not enough people get voted, not enough women get voted on boards, and therefore we have a problem in terms of getting them on boards. And therefore the initiative was taken a few months back to ensure category-wise voting so that there would be a forced voting towards each category of independent directors and of women. So I think that is also now up for feedback from the market, and I think that will be taking shape, and it's a constant discussion between SECP and the stakeholders on how to improve this aspect. So while that is going on, I think there are still some areas which probably can help from some regulation front. One is the role of the nomination committees. I think the nomination committee, if in place very sharply and very effectively, can be a key mechanism for ensuring independence and getting more diverse boards in place. Most boards over here don't have a very effective nomination committee, or at least their roles are sort of less defined. I think that has to be one of the key tools we should be looking at. And of course, decisions of boards during elections, that is now a big discussion. When there are nominations for board elections, boards have the power to sometimes reject those nominations and then, of course, not include them in consideration for elections. And I think we are looking at that very closely. We are working with SECP also on improving this aspect, that there should be more transparency around those elections. And if somebody wants to nominate himself or herself to the board, then there should be visibility, and there should be a clear reasoning for why that person has not been given the opportunity to run for those elections. I think there will be more transparency coming in the future, and that will support the cause of independence and diverse boards. So lastly, what can be done? Like I said, at a corporate level, boards must develop policies and they must start to disclose around these aspects. That will definitely help. The more disclosure requirements come on this, the more it'll start to become a norm at a corporate level. Set yourself targets, measure them, report them, and that's a clear way of helping the marketplace in improving the board diversity. The second tool that's available to boards is board evaluation. When you do your boards, first of all, you should be doing your boards evaluation to see how effective the board is performing. One of the key aspects within board evaluation is the board composition and the board diversity. So have a look at that, assess that, and see whether you are able to constantly reinvigorate your board composition. Have a discussion around it. You have an opportunity every 3 years to look at your board. So it's a constant exercise. The board evaluation can help you improve your board composition. That's something that boards can use. Thirdly, we talk about enterprise diversity. So yes, I think there's been a lot of talk about how at the organization level we need to have diversity. I think that is the feeding ground for boards. So for sure, we need to define those board diversity levels at different organizational levels. Like I was saying, how many women are at the C-suite level? That's a KPI that I think that'll help us a lot in terms of making sure that there's a bigger pool that's moving up the ladder. So those sort of level-wise KPIs, I think, will definitely help in board diversity aspects. Lastly, of course, shareholder engagement. As much as they are, as much as they have a voice in Pakistan, in a broader sense, shareholder engagement will be very helpful to companies in understanding the role, what they expect, what the investors expect boards to be doing in terms of diversity. And it's a globally, widely accepted phenomenon that diversity on boards is being asked for, is being checked. And quite sure that we are not very far when we also, from the capital markets, from our foreign investors, etc., are going to be asked about these topics. So do engage your shareholders, do engage with your lenders, do engage with your other forms of market investors, because they're going to also guide us better on what sort of diversity is expected from you to perform better. Thank you very much. That's all then from my side.